up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Vocab Malone. How y'all doing? Welcome to Street Apologist Live. I know there's been a few little bit of breaks here and there, but we're back in action with the grand old show, which I'm very, very excited about right now. Gonna have a long-time apologist favorite of mine, Dr. Jonathan Sarfati. But right now, what I need everybody to do is grab this link and share it. I need you to grab this link and share it, please. And then I need everybody to please hit the like button. It appears that we've got some flat earthers in the building. And the reason I think I know that is because we've got a lot more dislikes than usual. Don't usually have this many dislikes this early in the show unless we're doing a show on Hebrew Israelism. So there might not be exactly an open mind by some of the audience going into the subject. I've covered this subject once before, if you remember, where I actually had a Hebrew Israelite who was also a flat earther come in, and we just had a discussion, and I tried to get his view of the flat earth model. I love the guy, you know, and we witnessed to him and shared the gospel afterwards and everything. But nonetheless, I don't think he really explained the flat earth model very well. Mainly what he did was try to challenge us and get us to explain why we believe in the spherical earth, but he didn't actually offer any positive evidence for his position. And so we're going to hear the positive evidence for the position of the earth being a sphere from both the Bible and science, with the Bible-believing scientist himself today, Dr. Jonathan Sarfati. And I hope that at the end of the show you understand that you should accept what the Bible says, not what it doesn't say, and that you should take science seriously when it's done the right way and is not contradictory to God's word. So we have someone who has been holding down the fort against evolution and other various compromises, and I'm very excited to welcome him to the show. I'm unmuting his mic, and now I'm bringing him up, and you're going to see his face, and he's even going to be showing some screens tonight, some wonderful screens. Welcome to Street Apologist Radio Live, Dr. Jonathan Sarfati of Creation Ministries International. How you doing? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's great to see you. And I have been following you guys for a while. Subscribe to the magazine, which is an awesome magazine. Always turn to the website, creation.com. Great address for answers, and encourage other people to do the same. Tell people a little bit about Creation Ministries International, because I want everyone that watches what I do and believes in it to also watch you guys and follow you guys as well.
Hires more PhD scientists than any other Christian ministry that we know of. It has offices around the world. It started in Australia. I'm an Australian myself, but we now have a branch near Atlanta in Georgia. That's the US branch, which has been going for about 10 years now. I've been in this country for about 9 years, but I actually started off in the Australian branch for about 14 years. So I've been with the ministry here. It's my 23rd year of being with the ministry, actually.
Wow, 23 years. 23 years, that's amazing. So, you yourself, tell people a little bit about your background in science.
Okay, I'm a PhD physical chemist. Specifically, I'm a spectroscopist. I used to shine laser light onto selenium rings. Looked at the scattered light, published in secular scientific journals. I'm also a retired chess master. I was a chess champion of New Zealand once upon a time. I sometimes play chess from memory of up to 12 people. It's called blindfold chess, so people tell me what they're playing, and I tell them what I'm doing from my memory. Okay, that's a little hobby of mine. I'm also ethnically Jewish. My name is the Hebrew word for Frenchman, so I can tell Jewish jokes and French jokes and get away with it.
And Australian jokes, right?
Yeah, there you go. And New Zealand jokes. I'm actually a dual national of Australia and New Zealand.
Oh, you got a lot of bases covered. Although I'm not sure how many stereotypes of New Zealanders most Americans are familiar with, other than saying something about the Lord of the Rings.
Well, that was all filmed there. In fact, Peter Jackson has a house about 10 miles away from my parents' house in Wellington, New Zealand, the capital.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, hopefully your parents are not hobbits.
Oh, no, not quite.
Okay. Well, so I'm very glad to have you on, and
Well, thank you.
you have written a whole lot of books where you've done things like go toe-to-toe with Richard Dawkins and refuted some of his books, and
Yes.
in a number of other ways. And you've been holding it down for a while. What's sort of in the works for you currently? And then we're going to get into this topic. I know you've been dealing with this topic a lot, but what have sort of you been got going on recently?
Well,
and plans?
my best and most important one probably is my commentary on Genesis called the Genesis Account, which I wrote in 2015. So it's an 800-page commentary of Genesis 1 to 11. Showing why it makes sense to take it at face value, how Jesus and the New Testament writers took it, as well as how all the foundations, all the doctrines of Christianity have their beginnings in the early chapters of Genesis, plus defending it scientifically. I talk about dinosaurs, I talk about the age of the earth, the evidence for the flood. So that's already in its third edition.
Third edition? It seems like the book didn't even come out that long ago.
Yeah, 2015. So it's probably, I'm not sure if I've actually been on your show since that came out, but that was my most important one. Another book I've written is called Refuting Compromise, where I deal with the progressive creationists like Dr. Q. Ross, who wants to add millions of years to the Bible. And I show why that's wrong and for all sorts of different reasons.
That's the last time I interviewed you, I think. We interviewed you right when that book came out, now that I think about it. I remember. You know what I need to do, guys? I need to grab that interview and upload it to YouTube, because I have it in the archives, but I have not uploaded it yet. So the book on the show on that commentary, how can people find your resources if they want to? What's the way?
Well, probably creation.com is as easy as any, because you've got the button on the top of the screen which has the web store, and our resources are not very expensive because we publish a lot of them ourselves, so we try and keep the costs right down. So I mean, this commentary is probably about half the price of most commentaries of a similar size.
Excellent. Well, if someone could please, one of the street apologist squad members. I know I haven't been able to recognize you guys yet. There's a lot going on. We haven't done a live stream in a while, so I'm readjusting. Could one of you guys drop the link for the creation.com store, and maybe even one of you guys drop the specific link in there for Dr. Sarfati's commentary on Genesis? All right. Let's, Ruth's Angels, if you can, remind me. Hey, we've got a couple of Australians in the live chat. If you're from Australia, maybe give Dr. Sarfati a good day, mate. I want to see.
Mate. Yeah.
I want to see how many Australians we've got, and I don't think we have any New Zealanders. But if we do, what do New Zealanders say that's distinctive? Do you know?
Oh goodness, they're actually quite similar to Australians, even though we won't want to admit that about each other. Oh goodness, dropping their vowels, their short I vowels, is what they would do. And they call themselves Kiwis. It's not an insulting term to call them Kiwis.
All right, well, let me know if you're a Kiwi. All right, so I'll let you know how many we've got. There we got, well, Andrew Graham. Wait, are you Australian? Andrew Graham? You're Australian? I didn't know that, Andrew. Well, I just found out one of the folks who comes. Okay, there's Ruth. I knew you were. Ruth's a patron supporter. Joy Bliss. Joy, are you Australian? Guys, I'm saying only say it if you're actually Australian. I know you are, Elizabeth. So it looks like there's about 5.
I'm impressed.
At least 5.
And these are all living in the States, or they're actually watching you from Australia?
I think almost everyone is in Australia itself, from what I can tell.
Okay, that's interesting, because what's the time there? Back in Brisbane, it would be about 9 in the morning tomorrow.
Hey,
that's where I was.
Gerard Perry says that New Zealand is Australia's Canada.
All the other way around, yeah. In New Zealand, it's about midday. It's a midday tomorrow in New Zealand.
Well, we got some faithful people here. Okay, well, So let's get into this. Dr. Sarfati, you're a Bible-believing Christian, right?
Absolutely, yes. I've written books defending the inerrancy of Scripture right from Genesis 1:1.
Yet, you don't think that believing the Bible as the Word of God necessitates that someone believe that the earth is flat, correct?
Well, not only do I not think so, almost no one in the entire history of the Christian church has ever thought so.
What do you mean by that? Because, the rumor on the street, Dr. Sarfati, is that everybody until Cristoforo Colombo thought that the earth was flat.
Well, it's a very deceitful myth, and even President Obama pushed that myth, but in fact, almost no one ever believed that myth. Right from the beginning of the church, the medieval times, you can quote scholar after scholar to show that almost no one ever believed this myth. I'll just try and find the screen for you. I've got this sharing thing. I'm trying to get used to the Skype.
You're doing it so far, except you're showing us your Facebook.
Oh my goodness, I don't want to do that to you. But let's have a look. Here's one famous quote from the Venerable Bede. So he wrote, can you see this if I push this up?
Right now,
can you see that?
Yep, I'm seeing it. Yep, you're doing a great job. All right, excellent.
See, he's writing over 700 years before Columbus, and he said, we call the earth a globe, you see, a perfect globe, not circular like a shield, but rather like a ball, you see. This is centuries, and he was a very widely respected Christian scholar of the Middle Ages, a great a monk, a church historian, a theologian, and then you get to Thomas Aquinas, still over 200 years before Columbus. You see, he wrote Summa Theologiae, and he was talking about how you go about proving things. So he picked something that everyone understood in his day, that the earth is a globe. So he says the physicist proves the earth to be round by one means, the astronomer by another. So he expected all his readers to know the shape of the earth. He didn't have to go into detail. He expected this was actually well known to all his readers. And then you got the symbol of royalty in the Middle Ages called the globus cruciger. Long before Columbus, you have this cross-bearing orb, and the cross showed Christianity, a large cross to show how important Jesus is, but the globe symbolized the earth. You see, why would a globe symbolize a flat earth? And it showed that the rulers expected their subject to know that the globe was symbolizing the earth, the part of the earth that they ruled. Then you got a medieval romance, 12th century, the romance of Alexander. It had King Darius III sending Alexander a ball to say, you're a child, here's a toy for a child. But Alexander said, well, this ball is a symbol that I'm going to conquer the whole earth. You see, they expected the readers and hearers of this tale to understand that the ball symbolized a round earth. So that it was so obvious that they didn't have to explain it. They expected it to be common knowledge that the earth was round. And this is centuries before Columbus. So I think one of the big reasons that people are falling for this flat earth junk is that they think that the church always believed it, but in fact that almost no one actually did believe in a flat earth throughout the entire history of the church.
Well, okay, so you gave some examples, and those are good examples. What if a flat earther says, well, that's nice, but what do we believe? God's word? Or, Christians in history, they could have been wrong or fooled, or history could be doctored with, not that I think those are good arguments, but something like that. What about the Bible itself?
But I mean, you've got these people who are leaders in the Bible. They're the top theologians. They risk their lives to defend the Bible, and yet, despite their very high view of Scripture, they all believe the earth was a globe. You see, how come none of these guys was willing to say the Bible teaches the earth is flat? So it means that the Bible doesn't teach it. So the idea that the Bible teaches a flat earth is a modern conception. It didn't actually, no one thought this until about the 19th century. So it's a weird cultic aberration very late in church history. I mean, when you think of a new interpretation, but no one else has ever thought of for the previous 1,000+ years, the onus is on those to prove their new interpretation.
I agree. I don't know if you're going to share anything more for your screen, but
I could.
if you well, do you want to go and do you have some of the Bible texts on your?
Well, okay, here's one of them. You've got this dream of Daniel, okay, and they say, well, Daniel talked about this. Here's it. The tree became strong. The top reach of heaven is visible to the end of the whole earth.
Dr. Sarfati, excuse me, are you showing it right now? Because if you are,
I am.
I'm not seeing it. I'm still seeing your Facebook page still.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I think you need to make sure that that's the big window that's open. There you go. Okay.
You see it now?
All right. So tell us about what does this? What I see though, it looks like chess pieces. It looks like that's your. Is that your screensaver?
Oh my. Okay. Yeah, it is actually.
Hey everyone.
How's this?
There you go. Okay. Daniel 4:11. The tree grew and became strong, and its top reached to heaven. It was visible to the end of the whole earth. Okay, explain to us what that has to do with...
Well, see, the flat earthers say, well, therefore, the earth has to be flat for this tree to be visible. Okay, first of all, this is a dream. It's not reality. Dreams have all sorts of weird and wonderful things that no one expects to be reality. Here's another one.
Yeah, like, well, let me give you an example for, cows eating other cows whole. For example, in... you're bringing that up. Okay, yes. Genesis 41. Okay, after 2 whole years, Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing by the Nile, and behold, there came up out of the Nile 7 cows, attractive and plump, and they fed in the reed grass. And behold, 7 other cows. Well, you just changed the slide, but
I'm sorry. Here we go.
And the ugly thin came up out of the Nile after them and stood by the other cows on the bank of the Nile. And next slide. And the ugly thin cows ate up the 7 attractive plump cows. So a good example.
Well, so, the thing is, the Bible is not saying that cannibalistic cows really exist. These are dreams. And it goes on to talk about cannibalistic ears of wheat in the dream. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't know that wheat, the Bible really teaches that wheat is cannibalistic, for goodness sake, but that's the sort of thing. It's a dream. So, therefore, to make cosmology out of what was clearly a dream makes no sense at all. This is clearly a dream, and they're making a big thing. So, where is this tree? If there is such a tree that's really visible, where is this tree? It doesn't exist. And here's another passage they go to. Okay, you got this, the devil took him to a very high mountain, showed him all the kingdom of the world and their glory. You see this one?
Mm-hmm. The devil.
But okay, first of all, where is this mountain? You see, if you could see all the kingdoms with your physical sight from such a high mountain, that mountain should be visible from anywhere on the earth.
Right. So
where is it?
So I think you're saying there, what we have is a case of sort of supernatural beings, and
well, especially when you look at the parallel passage in Luke, it's showing him in an instance, so some sort of visual projection, maybe a screen, a slideshow, right. A supernatural slideshow,
like simultaneous. So that kind of shows you it's something different, because how can you even see them all in an instant?
Right. I mean, especially when from a distance and all that sort of stuff. It's clearly not. The devil is projecting images of all the kingdom. We could do that with natural means now with all our technology, but the devil could presumably do it supernatural. If we can do it naturally, he could do it supernaturally. That's what's going on here. It's not teaching anything about the shape of the earth. And yet these are the best passages they have. So it's no wonder that no one in the church believed in a flat earth. They knew very well what the shape of the earth is.
All right, excellent. Also, I want to give a shout out to the super chatter. We got Shreeded, and he says, I believe it's a he, Dr. Sarfati, I love what you do. So we got that. And then we got Radical Love. She's super awesome, and she says super chatters, and then she put some great little emojis there. Just a little dab will do you. All right, excellent. Thank you for the super chatters. Much love for all of you guys. So what about Bible passages that they have that maybe are better arguments than those? Do they have some ones that are better?
You see, you've got things like the circle of the earth in Isaiah. I think you say Isaiah, I say Isaiah, and Hebrew says Yeshayahu anyway. But okay, Isaiah 40:22, the circle of the earth. Now, there's several things you can think of, because the word for circle can mean a sphere. So the word circle, I mean, in Hebrew, you got words like chug and dur, which can be a two-dimensional roundness or a three-dimensional roundness. So even dur can be used of a ball, but also used of the army encompassing a city, relaying siege to a city, around about the city. Use the word kadur, and clearly it's not a three-dimensional round. It's a two-dimensional ring around the city, not a dome around the city like the Stephen King thing under the dome. It's not that, is it?
I think the Hebrew word there is a circuit, right?
Yeah, because the other thing is, see, in Genesis 1, you have, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So in that thing, you got the heavens as contrasted with the planet Earth. But on day 3, you have the dry land was called earth, and the water was called the sea. So most times the Bible, the earth is referring to the dry land of the earth. So the circuit of the earth could be the boundary of the dry land, which means the shorelines.
Right. So when it says earth,
is it? Sorry,
you're saying when it says earth in Hebrew, it may not mean like the whole earth. It may basically be referring to land.
Yes, I mean that's a very common. Since day 3 of creation week, that's probably the most common use of the word eretz in Hebrew.
Right.
It means a land. The eretz Israel is the land of Israel. It says it's a dry land. So the circuit of the earth in Isaiah 40:22 might be the shorelines of the earth.
And so later on, even though this is in Greek, not in Hebrew, well, I do think this phrase actually does appear in the Hebrew scriptures, where the Bible says "to the ends of the earth." The idea is basically as far as you can go out on the land.
Well, that's the thing. As far as you can go, as far as east from west, and things like the 4 corners of the earth means the 4 directions, the 4 compass points of the earth. What it's talking about, you see. But anyway, sometimes these passages prove far too much for the flat earther, because most of them believe in a disc-like earth. So when they talk about the point to the 4 corners of the earth, it actually refutes their disc-shaped as well, doesn't it? I mean,
right? If they
don't
want
believe in square earth, so they've got to be consistent. And when you go to some of their lists, like there are 200 plus verses supporting a flat earth, you find most of them have nothing to do with the shape of the earth. You got some about does a moon shine, there's light. Okay, well, whether it does or not, it doesn't prove the earth is flat.
Right.
And other things about the earth moving or the sun moving. A lot of these verses have nothing to do with the shape of the earth. Or there are people who worship the creation. Okay, how does it prove the earth is flat? You see, you look at the list, you think, well, what on earth are you putting those verses there? They've got nothing to do with the shape of the earth.
Right, and if we're going to, interpret certain things as sort of overly literal, specifically, I think Joshua's long day and the situation with Hezekiah, to me, those are the some of the more interesting ones. But if
those are sort of more geocentric. I think, again, a lot of the passages they bring up are really, if anything, they prove geocentric. No, I don't think they do, but they have nothing to do with the shape of the earth. They're talking about the motion. That's a different concept. I think it's important to sort of keep them grounded. Are you talking about the shape of the earth or its motion or lack thereof? Right,
because sometimes I see the flat earthers conflate some of those together, and I don't think all flat earthers are geocentrists, but I see that some are, and so they'll bring these arguments up as well.
I think that flat earthers tend to be a geocentrist, but most geocentrists throughout history have not been flat earthers. And when you look at the debates in the Church of Galileo, Copernicus, their opponents were geocentrists, but they were definitely global earth geocentrists. Well, flat earth wasn't even an issue. It was just such an insane idea. There wasn't an issue. So there was either global geocentrists or global heliocentrists. There was never anything else.
Do you think there's passages in Scripture that could be presented as positive evidence for a spherical earth? Because it seems like, unless I'm reading some of these wrong, I don't think all of them, but it seems like a lot of them could, in a way, for lack of a better word, some of them could go either way. For example, when you talk about the expanse of the heavens, you could make it overly literal and have some kind of metallic dome, but it doesn't necessitate that you do that. And
the expanse, you see, the word rakia, it's related to the word rakah, which is a verb. You see, it's a verb to stretch out or hammer out. There's the emphasis, because it's related to a verb, the emphasis is on the verbal aspect of it and not the substance involved, you see. So the emphasis is on the expansion, the stretching, not on any substance that's been expanding or stretching. So modern translations would translate rakia as the expanse. And I think that makes sense of the connection connection with raka, to stretch out. The stretched out expanse makes perfect sense. I don't think it's talking about a metallic dome. That's not the emphasis of the verb, the substance.
So now we've kind of veered a little bit because, I brought in, geocentrism, and then I brought in the metallic dome. What was kind of happened there, I brought some of the elements, some of the sundry elements that are sometimes also in a flat earth model. But Dr. Sarfati, what exactly is the flat earth model? So we looked at some of the passages that they would use, and you worked to show that those aren't good passages to use in that way. But what is the model?
Because a lot of passages are not trying to teach about cosmology. So what you have, my friend James Patrick Holding has written a lot about this, the equivocal language there. So it could go either way. And so necessarily a very clear knockdown proof in the Bible the earth's a sphere. There's no disproof. There's nothing to contradict it, and there's nothing to say the earth is flat. Usually it can go either way. That's a problem. That's not a problem for the Bible, of course. It's a problem for people trying to misuse the Bible to prove their flat earth stuff.
Is there anything we could say is positive evidence, though, or potential positive evidence for a spherical earth? For example, specifically when Jesus talks about when the Son of Man returns, or this momentous event that'll happen towards the latter times. When he speaks about,
you're talking about when you got people. So you got two people in bed. One is taken, one is left, and then you got people grinding the corn, which is so you got nighttime, then you got morning time where people are grinding the corn. Then you got afternoon where people are working in the field. You see, so it's a single moment of time. You got the morning, you have night, you have afternoon. They're all simultaneous, and that's only possible on a global Earth. It's not possible on the ancient model of a flat Earth. The time zone issue that I alluded to a bit earlier when I talked about what time it is in New Zealand and Australia is a strong evidence against the flat Earth. But I have to qualify that and actually just show what they try to counter in that. But yes, okay. I think that is actually a good sign that Jesus, the Creator, knew the Earth was round and would therefore have different time zones.
So is that the best example of potential positive evidence for a spherical Earth in Scripture?
I think that's actually quite good. It's such a natural thing to say, but when you look at it, it's only possible with a round Earth.
So this will sound super elementary, but let's just do it. If you could humor us just a little bit, why is that only possible on a spherical Earth? Why is that specifically?
Okay, let's see if I can actually do the sharing thing again.
Okay, I'll let you know if it's successful, if it's brought up. By the way, everyone in the live chat, I do see you guys. We're not quite at 100. We're getting close to 100, though. So if you could grab this video link, please, and share it on your social media, that'd be greatly appreciated. If we get 100, you guys know the rules. We get a freestyle. Here we got Top Student. And he's leaving a super chat, and he says, "Flat Earth is just what an illiterate barbarian," well, that's kind of rude, "such as Muhammad would believe." So you are making a legitimate point there, Top Student. That the fact
so
that
you're talking about this, aren't you?
Islam teaches a flat Earth, and you're making a good point. And then he says, "Vocab, you're the best actor. Your version of Muhammad was perfect." Thank you. So those of you guys who've seen the videos on David Wood's channel, Act 17 Apologetics, you guys know what Top Student is talking about. If you haven't, be sure to watch the video, some of the recent videos on David Wood's channel after this interview. Okay, so
I must admit, I would be a bit careful about trying to sort of attack the Quran and flat Earth, because when you look at the Islamic astronomers in the Middle Ages, they were clearly not flat earthers. They actually made some quite interesting discoveries. Not as important as the Christians of the Middle Ages, but they still were making good discoveries. So I wouldn't want necessarily to say that the Quran is a flat earth book. I think there's a lot of things wrong with the Quran, obviously, many things. But I think I wouldn't necessarily make this an issue.
I got you. Thank you, Ashley, also for the super chat. She says, "I love this discussion. Awesome stream." Well, let me just show you one thing here. So here's James with Christ, and hold on. I think he's one of the flat earthers who's joining. Yeah, Daniel Rebecca. So let me just show you. This is an example of a comment from a flat earther. We've only discussed a little bit, but they come on and say, this guy does not believe the Holy Scriptures at all. So Dr. Sarfati, why would a flat earther say that we don't believe the Holy Scriptures because we don't agree with the flat earth model?
Well, because they are under the definitely wrong and anomalous impression the Bible teaches of flat Earth. But when as we've looked at it, in fact, actually, let's divert a bit. From creation.com, if you Google refuting flat Earth, in fact, our article on this that I wrote with Dr. Carter is the #1 hit in Google.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and so right at the top of the article it's got a section called "Refuting 200 plus flat Earth Bible verses," showing that they really have the Bible doesn't teach a flat Earth. When you look at these verses, you wonder how they can even promote these with a straight face, because they so clearly have nothing to do with the shape of the Earth.
The other thing, and again, I don't think believing in a flat earth is anything like a damnable heresy or anything like that. However, with that being said, just on almost an anecdotal level, I personally have noticed when someone becomes sort of flat earth obsessed or convinced, and it almost seems like it's the same thing these days, I've noticed a lot of times an unbalance then in their how they weight that issue. So they think the Bible teaches, a flat earth, which, we really think they're wrong about. But then it becomes such an important issue that they almost become evangelists, a lot of times I've seen, for a flat earth model more than they do the gospel presented in scriptures. They think the flat earth is in the Bible. Well, when you look at
some of are you seeing my screen now?
No, I'm still just seeing your face. I do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll try to. I'm sorry. I'm a bit of a Skype. I guess it's showing my age a bit.
Well, remember you just look on. You bring up the one part and make sure that you're there. You go. Okay, you've got it. I'm going to show the screen now. All right, Dr. Sarfati, what are you showing us now?
No, sorry, I meant to show you these. These are the leading flat earthers, and none of them are friends of Christianity. So you've got Eric Dubay has probably made more flat earth videos than anyone else on the internet. He's not a Christian, for goodness sake. So why is it these flat earthers say you've got to believe in a flat earth to be a Christian? It's a great evangelistic tool. When the leading flat earth video promoter is not a Christian, he thinks that Jesus never existed. He's a Holocaust denier. He's a rapist anti-Semite. He thinks Hitler was a great guy.
Oh, wow. So he believes in all kinds of conspiracies then.
He's a complete nutter, but he's not a Christian. He's an anti-Christian. He thinks Christ never existed. And Rob Skiba is the other one who doesn't believe the Trinity in reality. Okay, so you got these. It's very hard to find a flat earther who accepts the Trinity. And then you go to Daniel Shenton, who's sort of a previous generation of flat earthers, and he believes in evolution and global warming. So none of them are actually are great at defending biblical truth. It's all about this flat earth. Everything else goes out the window when it comes to, but flat earth is their God almost. It's becoming almost idolatrous and cultic. It's a very cult-like behavior, this flat earth stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, sort of I was trying to be diplomatic, but basically I notice how people get a hold of this issue and it weights down their perspective, and almost always they become off balance. And I'm just speaking frankly. If I'm wrong, I'd love to be shown. But the flat earthers that I'm familiar with, they are really unbalanced in how important they think this issue is. Even if they were right hypothetically, let's just say. We have to really ask the question about how important of an issue it is. There's a guy here locally, and you guys, I don't know if you've seen this, and he's a friend of mine, but he actually goes out to Arizona State University with billboards, like sandwich boards, that they're all filled with flat earth propaganda, and he passes out tracts.
Oh,
and
no.
the tracts are about the flat Earth model. And
I mean, see, my colleague, Dr. Rob Carter, and I have been picketed by flat earthers. We're giving talks. We're giving talks about how creation, the gospel, and how we can use it to share the gospel. And he's picketing outside the churches, calling us the enemies of the scriptures. He's picketing churches. He picketed the creation conference. He got a hold of his mob to picket the creation conference that we had last year.
I tell you what, if you guys, I know you probably find it, maybe more trouble than it's worth, but if they do that one of these times, you guys should get a decent cameraman, and once the conference is over there, go out there and have a discussion with those guys and post it. I'm telling you, that video, if you did that, would probably go viral. It would be a very popular video.
Interesting. But see, I think you're right about that. I think Gary Bates, who's a CEO, he's even actually asked, well, okay, supposing you're right, how does it affect the gospel? How does the shape of the earth affect the gospel, or who Jesus is? Like, you can make a connection that Genesis is important to the gospel. I think I've done that with you before. But to make a connection of the shape of the earth with the gospel about Jesus as creator, the authority of Scripture, you just can't do it.
I agree. Ashley, thank you so much for the super chat. Looks like you're getting us into the freestyle zone. And also Ruth, she says she loves all the creation stuff. God is so clever. Amen. Well,
yes, indeed.
Let's get into some of the science aspect of it. We can't discuss all the passages, but we've discussed some. What about the science aspect? And I believe you have some slides you'd like to share with us as well on this, which it looks like you've got a great presentation on this. Could we look at some of those?
It doesn't take too long. I'll try and do the sharing thing again. Start sharing. Now let's find
there you go. You got it. You just click on your PowerPoint and bring that up, and you are good to go.
See, one of the hang on, let's just blank this for a bit. See, one of the earliest proofs. I mean, remember earlier this year there was a supermoon eclipse.
Yes.
Now, see, one of the earliest proofs of a round Earth, going back to the time of Aristotle, was the shape of the shadow of the Earth on the moon is always round.
Okay, so I think I know this one. What's the only thing that can produce a shadow that the shape of it is always round? It can only be a sphere. That's the only,
I mean, regardless of where it is. I mean, the people in Britain who saw the Earth when the moon was low in the sky, it was right above us where we were near Atlanta. But everywhere, it's a round shadow. And as you say, only a sphere could produce this round shadow every time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so all they can say is things like, well, maybe the moon is self-lit, but the church has always taught the moon shines by reflected sunlight. It's quite clearly shining by reflected light. You look at the shadows are clearly illuminated from above. You can see the direction of a light that comes from where we know the sun is, you see. And astronomers predicted the positions of the Earth, moon, and the sun. So we knew the timing of the eclipse years, centuries in advance. We knew this eclipse would happen. It would be a supermoon. We knew all this, because we knew where the Earth and Moon would be. So we know it's the Earth that's blocking the sun, and we know that it's forming a round shadow. That was the earliest proof of a round Earth.
Yeah, and a spherical model of the globe has predictive power.
Yes.
The flat Earth model doesn't have predictive power. In fact, everything that we do, all calculations that are related in any way to this, are based upon the assumption, it's really, the proven fact, that the Earth is a sphere. The global positioning system, surveyors who do large projects across the land, the list goes on and on and on. Building contractors, I think, even have to take into account the curvature of the Earth. Pilots, of course.
Yes.
Don't say the four-letter word to these guys, NASA, but obviously the things that NASA does as well, and ship captains. I mean, it's a long list of people in professions who everything they do is based upon the fact that the Earth is a globe. Okay,
are you seeing this picture, though?
Yes,
are you seeing
sir.
the picture?
Yes, sir.
Well, you see, that's the thing. Because you have the curvature of the globe, we can see that the lower parts of buildings and hills are cut off. And you see, people in the medieval times knew this. There's a bit of a myth that you'd see the sail of a ship, the ship disappearing before the sail. But in those days, without telescopes, you probably couldn't do that. But they knew other things. You see, sailors would know. They would see the hill before they saw the beach. Coming into land is always the hill before the beach. The beach is closer, but they see the hill first.
Okay.
because the beach is hidden by the globe by the bulge of the Earth.
Okay. Can you explain kind of what would we see if the Earth was flat instead?
Okay, well, you see, you see things getting further and further away, smaller and smaller, but you wouldn't see the bottom being cut off and then getting out of view. See, what we have, Navy people now with binoculars, they can talk about hull down ship. This is a term known with navies for hundreds of years, the hull down ship. You see, and from the amount the ship is down, you can tell how far away it is. And navies, of course, are very competitive. They have to know where the enemy ships are. And so if they got this wrong, they'd lose the battle. So they had to be right. And they were using the hull downness to calculate distances. And this is only possible because the curve of the Earth is hiding the bottom of the ship.
Excellent, excellent.
And then you get to this Johannes Sacrobosco. He wrote the textbook of astronomy for the universities of the Middle Ages. Universities were a Middle Ages invention, and they all had to study astronomy. The clergy had to study astronomy, and the textbook was called The Sphere by Sacrobosco because the Earth is a sphere. And he gave this test. What you could do, you could light a signal fire on the beach, and you sail out until you can't see the signal fire, but then you climb on the mast, and now you can see the signal fire from higher up. Okay, but the point is, if it was a flat Earth, there'd be a greater distance. It would be the hypotenuse from the fire to the distance of the mouth, so to the top of the crow's nest. So you have a greater distance from on high than from below. But of course, you can't see it from down from on the deck because of the bulge of the Earth getting in the way. So they knew that. Another thing they knew is different time zone. Remember, I was talking about how a different time in New Zealand and Australia. Like, well, if I call my parents, I have to make sure I'm not waking them up at the dead of night.
That's nice of you.
I try to be nice, honor your mother and father. But the point is, you see, that if you look in this picture here, I'm showing you this picture and how, you see, there in, it doesn't have New Zealand. It's quite criminal, this map. It doesn't have New Zealand up. Okay, but Australia is in the dark, while United States is in the light.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, okay. But of course, in 24 hours, in 12 hours will be the opposite. We'll be in the dark. And as I say, New Zealand is actually about midday now. See, this is only possible on a round Earth. You see, but, sorry, flat earthers try to explain this away. You see, the ancient model has a disk with the sky as a dome over it and the sun arcing overhead. Okay, that's what they believe. But now the modern flat earth model has the sun in a horizontal plane overhead. Now, can you see this picture? This picture working for you?
Yes, it is.
You see, what we see, we have the Bible talking about sunrise and sunset, which is from our point of view, the sun seems to come up and down. But the modern 19th century, it's called the zetetic model, has the sun rotating in a plane horizontally parallel to the Earth. And that's how they try to get around time zone. But that produces the problem of its own. Like, first of all, we see the sun setting piecemeal, bottom first, over the horizon. It actually clearly sets and it gets cut off. It doesn't change its apparent size, but it gets cut off from the bottom first. You see, if it was actually in a horizontal plane overhead, it would appear to get smaller because if it's getting further away from us as it revolves, it'll get smaller and smaller. So it should look much smaller in the near the sunset than it does at noon. But if you take if you look up very carefully because it's bright, or use a proper solar filter, you'll see the sun's apparent size does not change throughout the day. So it clearly stays almost exactly the same distance from us. So it can't be doing this circuit around the horizontal plane because we'd see it getting smaller and larger. It would start small in the morning, get very large at noon, and then shrink in the afternoon until it shrinks to a point and disappears, but it would never actually quite disappear. That's their ridiculous spotlight sun and a horizontal plane. But also the moon. The moon doesn't change size throughout the night.
Yeah, a flat Earth is commenting, and he says, the moon is set in the firmament. They are both lights in the sky and the same size. Bible wins. That's James with Christ's comment.
But the Bible doesn't say the size. It just says the sun is the greater light, the moon is the lesser light. It doesn't say how the moon gets its light. It doesn't say the moon is self-lit. It just says it's a light, and it is a light in the sky. We talk about moonlight all the time, but the Bible doesn't actually go into the internal workings of how the moon gets its light. It doesn't say the moon is the same size, smaller or larger. It just says it calls it a lesser light, because clearly it's a much lower, lesser light than the sun. That's all it says. And to read into it that they have to be in the same size, but according to your flat Earth model, they can't be the same size. They wouldn't look the same size. They look the same size because they're actually very far away. And the distance to the moon and the sun is much further away than the diameter of the Earth. So, in fact, the distance to them is really almost unchanging throughout the day, throughout the year. So they always appear roughly the same size of half a degree of angular size. So, but on the flat Earth model, they would change size markedly throughout the day. The constellation would seem to get further. Stars will get further apart and closer together as they rotate, get closer to you, further away. So this model is totally untenable.
Excellent. I don't know if you want to share a different screen or want to bring back your face. By the way, we got Lisa Taute watching in Israel, and she says it's pitch black night there, almost 2 a.m. Well, thank you for watching all the way in Israel. And of course,
that time is only there because the Earth is round. I mean, if you've got readers all around the world, they can tell you now. Maybe you should ask the readers to tell us right where you are and what time it is. And that is very clear proof that we're not on a flat Earth. We're clearly on a round Earth where we have different time zones.
Yeah, it seems like even the seasons themselves are evidence of a round Earth.
Well, yeah, and also different constellations is very clear, because one thing they knew in the even in medieval period, before they knew about New Zealand or Australia, they knew that if you go higher up, there's some stars you see more clearly, some stars you no longer see.
Well,
okay.
Explain why that's evidence of a spherical.
Okay, see, have you ever seen the Southern Cross from Arizona?
I don't think I have.
No, because the Earth is in the way.
Well,
the round Earth is blocking your view of the Southern Cross.
Now I feel like Marvin the Martian. I'm going to have to destroy it so I can get my view.
Yeah, that's the only way you could do it.
You guys know what I'm talking about? Marvin the Martian? He
Yes,
Earth
the
is blocking his way.
Brothers thing. Yeah.
So he wants to destroy it. But go ahead.
But when I was growing up in New Zealand and Australia. Of course, we knew about the Southern Cross. We saw it all the time. It's on our flags. You see, it's on our flags. Mm-hmm. But I never saw the Big Dipper. I never saw Polaris and North Star, because from where I was, the Earth was in the way. I couldn't see all your constellations. But you see, on a round Earth, it makes sense that when anyone looks south, they see the Southern Cross. In fact, there's a faint star called Sigma Octantis, which is very near the South Celestial Pole. And anyone in the Southern Hemisphere looking south at any time of night will see Sigma Octantis. You might need a telescope to see it properly. It's very faint. But any direction, but on a flat disk, all the people looking south should be pointing in opposite directions. So imagine if they're 12 time zones apart. They're on opposite sides of the Earth. One's on the east, one's on the west. They should be looking 180 degrees apart from each other on a flat disk. They shouldn't be able to see the same stars. But when anyone looks south, they always see the same stars, because we're on a globe, and you look down towards the South Pole, you see the South Pole star.
Right.
That's possible only on a round Earth. I mean, that's why I think a lot of the flat earthers have this northern hemisphere bias and really have no clue what it's like to live in Australia or New Zealand or the southern hemisphere, where we think it's a totally bizarre idea that the Earth could be flat, because we're seeing different things from you.
Right. Like those giant spiders Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
I've got a few of those. They're funnel winds, yes.
Oh
And
man.
of course, the hurricanes in Australia go clockwise, while the hurricanes in the northern hemisphere go counterclockwise. And again, that's because we're on a rotating Earth, and we're on the south end. So they go clockwise in the south and anti-clockwise in the north. That's very good evidence that we're on a rotating ball.
And I think the bath drains the other way.
Now that's a fallacy because the
Oh,
Coriolis
okay.
effect
Okay.
is actually too small to actually be an important factor when it comes to something as small as a bath drain. Okay, but on the size of a hurricane, hundreds of miles across, it becomes a very important factor.
We have Shreeded in the super chat says astronauts never make a podcast confirming the flat Earth. I wonder why. Thank you very much for the super chat, Shreeded. And also someone else gave in the super chat. I'm looking for the person. I'll find them in a second. I just lost track of them, but I'll find you back and give you a shout out. The other folks. Okay. Oh, there we go. Linda Clark says, have flat earthers ever flown in an airplane? Which I think that's an excellent point as well.
Okay, I think unless you're up in a Concorde, you're probably not going to see a noticeable curve in an airplane. Okay, I think you might be a bit disappointed. But you see, what you can do with an airplane is think about the geocentrism issue. You see, because people will think, well, okay, if we're on a rotating Earth, why don't we fall off? Doesn't the wind blow us? But you see, on an airplane, you're traveling, say, 500 miles per hour on the airplane. But as far as you're concerned, you're sitting still. The hostess comes, she pours drink, and it falls vertically. But if your plane was transparent, like the Wonder Woman plane was, okay, and someone had a telescope, they'd see the hostess, the water, and you traveling at 500 miles an hour. Okay, but from your reference frame on the plane, you'd see everything, the hostess pouring vertically, you see, because the plane shares its motion with everything on it.
Well,
and that's what the Earth is doing. The Earth is sharing the air and the sea and everything on it moves with the Earth, so we don't notice the Earth's motion because we're all moving with it. You see that, and going on an airplane is a good lesson in that.
So this is some of the scientific evidence for the flat Earth model. What's interesting I've noticed is that flat earthers will say, at least the ones who say they're Bible believers, they'll say, hey, this comes from the Bible. But they also have some kind of hackneyed arguments from science they trot out as well. Have you heard some of these, and how would you respond to some of them?
Oh, but I mean, see, look at our page, Refuting the Flat Earth. We start off by showing refuting 200 plus Bible verses. We go into the history of how no one believed this stuff until the 19th century. It's actually totally not accepted by the early church. And then they get into some rather hackneyed questions to try to explain away. They have to explain away things. You see, why does the sun appear to be a constant size throughout the day and throughout the year? Oh, because they talk about vague things like refraction, but they don't explain why refraction should exactly balance the perspective that you'd expect if the sun was getting further away, looking smaller. Why does the atmosphere exactly balance it out so it looks the same size the whole day? I mean, it's so much special pleading. I mean, why do people in the south always look south and see a Sigma Octantis when they should be looking in opposite directions? I haven't seen a good example from that. The lunar eclipse idea. What do you think is causing the lunar eclipse? Is there some unknown body there? Okay, if it's an unknown body, how can we predict it every time? How can you predict an unknown body getting in the way of the moon and causing an eclipse? You can't predict that. It's unknown by definition. But yeah, we know when the eclipse happens. We knew when it would occur. We know the next one is going to occur. We know what sort of eclipse it's going to be.
Well, those are excellent. And I think this is a time where we can transition into taking some questions from the audience. I have one guy in the live chat, so everyone bring in your questions. And what I want you guys to do is to make them clear at me, put at Vocab Malone so I can see the question better. And then I'll try to get to it because we're going to do a couple. Now, what we try to do on these, Dr. Sarfati, if we could, is just you kind of give the brief answer because otherwise we won't be able to really hit that many of them. So
Understood.
Feel free to do truncated. And okay, here's first and last, brings up the first comment, and it's a super chat. He says, challenge for flat earthers: fly in an airplane until you return to where you started, then tell me where the earth is flat or not. So do you think that's a good experiment or not?
Well, I suppose they would say that they're going in a circle around a disc. So, I mean, I'm not sure how that would work, really. I mean, I think it's actually fair because we know that airplanes go in a great circle route. And you can expand on that. You see, my colleague, Dr. Rob Carter, he actually looked at flight times. And of course, because if you're on a disc centered in the North Pole, I mean, the southern distance should be much bigger than the northern distances. So you should get huge distances and huge flight times between countries in the southern hemisphere. But of course, the flight times match exactly what you expect to find on a global Earth. The distances match perfectly, but they're hopelessly wrong if it was a flat Earth.
Okay, and I think this person was being sardonic, but I think this is an actual argument they've heard from flat earthers. Mm-hmm. It's flat and not moving because when I jump up in the air, I land in the same place. Is that actually an argument that they give?
I think so, but then again, jump up on an airplane when it's flying at 500 miles an hour, I think you'll find you land in the same place.
So they're trying to say that's evidence the Earth is not moving.
But in fact, because the motion is shared, like when you've got perpendicular directions of motion, they don't have any effect on each other. That's why you can be in an airplane, you can jump up and down, and you'll land in the same place. Now, even if you're looking from the ground, you see everything's moving at 500 miles an hour. You see you jump, and it looks like a parabola from the point of view of the ground. But for the people on the airplane will think that you're jumping up and down, you're landing in the same place. People do that.
All right.
If you drop something, you're driving a car at a very steady driving, and someone in the back seat drops something, I think you'll find it lands in the same. It lands vertically. It goes vertically downwards because again, the car is sharing the motion with everything in it. So we can see this happening, that motion is shared. If you're on something moving, everything will move with that thing.
All right, excellent. Now here's a few questions, which, let's see. Some of these, you guys got to put these in question formats. Some of these aren't really good questions. Okay. Why doesn't the pilot adjust the plane for the curvature of the Earth? Pilots reaching their cruising height and maintain that height until they're preparing to land.
Because the height is above the Earth's surface, so it automatically adjusts. You see, it keeps a constant height above the Earth's surface. So as the Earth curves, the plane will curve to follow that. But also, we're looking at the plane's path is normally a very small part of the Earth. The Earth's radius is 6,371 kilometers is the radius, a very large radius of curvature, and therefore, if you're sampling a very small part of it, it looks quite straight. But when you expand, you realize it's actually part of a circle. And that's why you may not notice it, but the plane is actually curving, but you passengers are not going to notice it because the curvature is very shallow.
Here's a person who wants to know, can the Earth be round and not moving?
Well, that's the classical geocentric argument, which was the ruling paradigm for thousands of years before some people in the Middle Ages, and then you got more famous Copernicus and Galileo challenged that. And I think the evidence is against it, but the arguments for the geocentric position were quite respectable. It wasn't a case of religion versus science. It was really science versus science for the most part.
Yeah, basically old science versus new science in a way, meaning an old model.
The old science had a good case for a long time because it took a long time before we could prove the Earth was moving, before we could actually measure Coriolis effect, because you need a large scale to do it, before you had the Foucault pendulum, which could do it, before you could detect this parallax from stars. It was actually quite hard to prove the Earth was moving until about the 19th century. But the thing is, the Newton and Kepler model, which was invented by creationists, that had by far the best predictive qualities. It outstripped any geocentric model. So that's why it won the day, because it was just so much better at predicting things. It wasn't a conspiracy. It was just that it did a much better job.
Excellent, excellent. Shout out again to Radical Love for the super chat. You are very, very awesome. And a question. So did I hear correctly that standing atop a ship mast can see a curve, but in an airplane cannot?
No, hang on. The standing across a ship mast, you can see further beyond the curve in the direction straight ahead of you. But on an airplane, what you're trying to do is see the curve horizontally. It'd be very hard to see a horizontal curve because you're only going up a few miles, but the Earth is thousands of miles in diameter, so it's a very tiny fraction. So you won't see a horizontal curve, but the ship mast sees a sort of curve directly in front of you. See that something is below the curve. It's been cut off by the curve. They're different things. It's apples and oranges, what we're talking about here.
What do flat earthers do about triangles with angles that add up to more than 180 degrees?
Well, that's another problem. You're quite totally right, because on a very large scale, you surveyors will plot out a triangle and the angles will be more than 180 degrees, because on a sphere, angles on a triangle will add up to more than 180, and that's not possible on a flat earth. So getting a large enough surveying plot, you will actually see this. You need a fairly large one to notice it, but you will notice it.
That's a very interesting... I'm glad you brought that up,
true,
Baxter.
yeah.
I've never heard of that till now. These are from the comments. We got some good comments here.
Yeah.
And then, so now people are getting the geocentrism. Why did God stop the sun and the moon in the days of Joshua, but did not stop the earth? I mean,
but hang on, again, stopping relative motion, you see, all motion has to be described in relation to something else. That's the thing. You have to choose your reference. Like, we talk about sunrise and sunset. I guarantee most astronomers who use the term sunrise and sunset are not geocentrists, but they use it because they're choosing the Earth as a valid reference frame. I think what happened with Joshua's long day is that God slowed the rotation of the Earth. The solid part, the hydrosphere, the atmosphere, all slowed down, which is why you have both the sun and the moon appearing to slow down, because if the Earth's rotation slowed down, then you'd see everything in the sky would appear to slow down from our perspective. Okay, so it's a matter of the reference. Now, let's get back to sharing something. I've got another slide for you, which is actually quite interesting. I only discovered it relatively recently. Let's see if I can share screen again. Let's find
Where
this
are you going
slide.
there? Let me mention... So the Bible, especially in these instances that we're talking about with Joshua's longer day, where it speaks of the earth, or the sun stopping, it's phenomenological language. What it means is...
Yes, we actually have it. You see my screen now?
Yes, but let me finish that real quick. It's
Yes, go ahead.
describing it's describing it as it appears, which is perfectly acceptable way, because it's for lay people by lay people. And the funny thing is, we still say that today. We still say sunset, sunrise. So it's not strange for the Bible to say.
Your car speedometer is in relation to the Earth, but your GPS is a car-centric reference frame, because your GPS has your car at the center of the universe, and all the roads are moving around your car.
Right.
So it makes sense that when you're driving a car, you want the car as your reference frame. You see, so you can choose what reference frame you want.
Right, a car-centric model. All right, what are you showing us now here, brother?
I'm showing you a nautico-centric reference frame from the pagan poet Virgil in his famous Aeneid, which is a very popular poem. All the Christians in the medieval, they learned Latin from studying the Aeneid. And we see this passage here. So we set out from harbour, and lands and cities recede. See, he's from the point of view of the ship, it seems like it's the land that's receding. So it's a ship-centered, a nautico-centric reference frame.
Right.
So even the people in the medieval times knew about this. That's why they were not too worried about the Joshua's long day, because they realized it was phenomenal logical language, just like this is. In fact, the Bible has an example of this. You have to go to the original Greek, or some of the more literal translations, but you see Acts 27:27, it says, towards the middle of the night, the sailors began sensing some land to be drawing near to them.
Right, but clearly Luke is not saying that the land is moving, but you're saying in the Greek that's the way it would appear, because it's described from the perspective of the vessel.
Yeah, exactly. So this is another nautico-centric passage in the Bible. In the original Greek that Luke wrote was a nautico-centric passage, you see. So here's an example from the Bible that you don't have to have the earth as your reference frame. You can choose another reference frame if it's more convenient, including the ship you're on.
Let me see here. Let's see. We got some.
I'll stop sharing this.
Showing down Earth. Easy is asking a question. Vocab, wouldn't slowing down Earth cause huge floods? So, we're not denying there's sort of what you might call ramifications from the miracle that God performed.
But I'm saying that what would happen is that if God can slow the earth, he can also slow the hydrosphere, the watery part. He can slow the atmosphere. So everything is being slowed down at the same rate. So there's no relative motion with any of them.
Danny Faulkner actually has a great article. This is to the questioner Easy, asking about the problems that slowing down the earth would cause. Danny Faulkner has a great article. He talks about the torsion and all other things about this.
Yes.
And says, look, we're still affirming this is a miracle. And there's some great challenges when we think in our mind of how would this happen and how would this happen. We're talking some massive, massive challenges, but that is sort of the point. It is a miracle. And so we're not denying the supernatural. We're not denying any of that. We're just saying it's not evidence in any way of a geocentric model. But there's still some challenges with it in the sense of that's challenging for us to imagine. Wow, a miracle of that scale. But for God,
and also,
who created
I think
it all,
there's historical evidence for it, because we see in some legends from the people on the other side of the world, like the New Zealand Maoris, they have a legend of a long night, but the legend is that Maui, the demigod. Have you seen the film Moana, the cartoon Moana? It's Hawaiian, but it's also a Maori thing. He stopped the sun from rising, so the night was prolonged. You see, so if there was such an event where the Earth stopped rotating, people on the other side will see a prolonged night, and people in Joshua's time see a prolonged day.
Right.
So it makes sense that there's something like this happened in history, but it was definitely a miraculous occurrence.
Right. Let's see here. Let's see what else we got. Wow, there's a lot here.
Wow.
So, I don't know if we can get to all of these. There's a lot here. Let's kind of round this up. Why are you into this? Your background, obviously you're a scientist and you're a Bible-believing Christian, but it's not something that you would probably naturally think you would ever be dealing with.
Well, yeah.
Why is it important for you and CMI to tackle this issue?
Well, just to give some historical perspective, about 2013, I wrote an article called The Myth of the Flat Earth, where I point out that Columbus was never an issue for Columbus. Everyone believed in a round Earth. You see, I got a lot of good comments from it. So that's 2015. It's not that long ago. So it's in that time, you've got this Flat Earth having a revival, and now we get hostile comments for attacking the Flat Earth. But we have to do it because the atheists in the 19th century and even today use this as a way to discredit Christianity and the Bible, because the Bible's a flat earth book, and the church taught a flat earth. You can't listen to them about anything. You see, so we've got to actually not fall for such, which is such easily disprovable stuff like the flat earth. It discredits the Bible and Christianity, so please don't. It gives Christianity a bad name, which is, of course, why atheists love to push this myth. Yeah. And that's why we want to stop it.
So, I've heard one guy say that one reason why it's important for creation scientists, and maybe even especially those who are described as being young earth creationists, to attack this is because there's some superficial similarities in the position, meaning people will say, well, we're holding to God's word despite whatever a mainstream consensus is and things like that. Just a superficial similarity. And so I do think it's important. It's interesting to notice some of the main Christian apologetic organizations who have clapped back, as we say, against a lot of the flat Earth stuff have been those, it seems like, who tend to be on sort of the YEC spectrum.
Yeah.
And I find that very interesting. But I do agree that ultimately it's actually damaging to the witness of the church because, look, if we've got to hold on to something that goes against the mainstream grain, we can do it and God will get glory for it. But we don't need to add extra things to hold on to that go against the mainstream grain just for the sake of being contrarian. And that's really what it seems like the flat Earth position does. And I think it's damaging to epistemology. It's damaging to all kinds of things. It's really a damaging position. And I know a guy personally who got into flat Earth. He was actually a pastor at a church, believe it or not. Got into flat Earth stuff. And 6 months later, walked away from the faith because it led him to this path where religion itself was a big part of another one of these conspiracies. And so he went from being a pastor of a church to a flat earther to walking away from it all. I still pray for the brother, but as of now, so it's these flat earthers talk about it like it's some kind of faith-inducing exercise. I don't actually agree.
Oh dear. I did not know that this is pretty much a tragedy. I had no idea that such a tragedy happened. I call this a tragedy.
It's a local friend of mine, someone I've done ministry with for over a decade.
I'm really sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was and it all began. The flat Earth was his gateway conspiracy into eventually getting to a place where he denied that Christianity had any validity as well.
Well, see, it's interesting because Chuck Colson said he became a Christian because he realized that he was part of a conspiracy, the Watergate conspiracy, and he knows conspiracies unravel. There's too much incentive to unravel, but it was a conspiracy to fake the resurrection of Jesus. But the apostles, they went to their death. They were tortured. They had every opportunity to recant, and they never did. You see, so if it was a conspiracy, if conspiracy theories work, then Christianity doesn't have much going for it. So I think it's a dangerous position to have. I mean, just like what you said, we are pro-Bible. CMI is a pro-Bible ministry. We're not anti-establishment for its own sake. Only if it attacks the Bible. We're not anti-contrarian, as you put it, for its own sake. That's an unhealthy position to be in. Pro-Bible, please, not anti-everything else.
Right. I think that's an important distinction. And I mean, it's important because we need to be people of discernment. It's important because we need to exegete the text for what it really says, and I do not think flat earthers do that. It seems like
goodness no.
It really doesn't. So, all right, this is the last question we'll take because it's a super chatter. Austin says, if the Earth were to be flat. If the Earth were to be flat, wouldn't there be cats pushing things off the edge?
Oh, yeah, I've seen that meme before. Yeah, very, very funny.
So that's how we know the Earth is flat, because there's not cats pushing things off the edge of it.
I think the flat earthers will just say the cats hate the ice. But
yeah, the ice wall. We didn't even get into that.
Oh, well, the thing is, Edmund Hillary is a New Zealand. Edmund Hillary, he was one of the first two people to climb Everest, but he also led a trans-Antarctic expedition crossing Antarctica via the South Pole, you see. So we New Zealanders know all about that. So there's no South Atlantic wall. And also, again, if you go high up, why don't we ever see the Atlantic wall? How come you can't go high up in their balloons and see this ice wall around the Earth? I mean, surely if you go high enough, you should be able to see a gigantic ice wall in the distance, but no one ever does. Funny that.
Right. Well,
you see a horizon instead. The horizon cuts off what you can see.
Well, so it looks like you've sort of become a target to a lot of flat earthers because you've spoken out on this issue, because there's some people in the chat who seem to have a special dislike for you. And
for Dr. Faulkner, for Dr. Carter, yeah. I mean, Dr. Faulkner and I have been battling flat earthers on one of the Facebook pages, actually, yeah. So, yeah, Dr. Faulkner and I have been allies in this.
So there are some good resources on this, and everyone on my Vocab Malone public Facebook page, I actually have a note that I've created, and it's a lot of good links from a Christian scientific perspective about why the Earth is spherical and not flat, using both Scripture and science.
Good.
And I encourage you guys to check that out at facebook.com/vocabmalone. And as well, I've made a playlist on my YouTube channel that simply says the Earth is not flat, where I've linked to various videos by solid, trustworthy people who talk about this. And I think there's some helpful resources out there. But
have you linked to Dr. Robert Carter's talk from the super camp about the flat Earth? That's a very helpful one.
Yes,
that's one of them. As well as, of course, our article called "Refuting the Flat Earth." It's a very comprehensive article on that.
Yeah, and JP Holding has some good stuff as well that you'd mentioned from tectonics.org.
Yes, he's got some good stuff about it. Also, he's written for other publications like equip.org, which they create Christian Research Institute. So he's written on these things. He's very helpful in this area. So Danny Faulkner's written good stuff. He's helpful too.
Yeah, he's great. I love Dr. Faulkner's stuff.
Jay Wiles, another Young Earth creation, has written on this thing. He's pretty good stuff on that too. So yeah, a few of us have tried to take the lead on this.
And isn't it funny? It's probably one of the few times in your life that you get accused of going along with the mainstream secular establishment.
Huh? Isn't that ridiculous? Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I oppose the global warming hysteria too. I mean, Dr. Jay Weil points out he opposes the global warming hysteria. He opposes evolution, the billions of years. So we're not people who go along with the establishment just for the sake of it. But we're also not people who oppose it for the sake of it either.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us. And
it's been great.
And
good to see you again. It's been too long.
I know. Well, I don't know if we're setting up anything anytime soon here in Phoenix, but I do know if someone from CMI happens to be coming to Arizona, please give me a buzz as well, and we can see if we can do something as well with it. So you got some supporters here in Phoenix, and we love what you guys do. Everyone visit creation.com. Subscribe to the magazine. It's got good stuff for the youngsters as well as some beautiful photography. And when you search out these questions, I encourage you, one of the first places to go is go to creation.com and search for these issues right there in their search bar, and they've got answers to a lot of these issues. And also get Dr. Sarfati's commentary on Genesis.
Well, thank you, Vocab, for that.
Yes, sir. And anything else before we close down this portion of the show?
Well, I just wish you God's blessing for your show. I mean, and I'll be checking out your Facebook page and the links that you're going to send me too. So thank you for doing that.
Awesome.
I look forward to seeing that.
I've got Fran's email, and I can send them
she's
to
your Fran
her.
Bates. Yep, good.
Mm-hmm. And I'll send them to her probably tomorrow.
Right, you'll get to me that way, yes?
Yes, sir. Or I could send you a Skype message, actually, as well.
Okay, that'll work too, yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, God bless. Well, I have a few things I need to do on the show, which is after, but this is this part, and now we're going to transition where I'm going to be rapping.
Oh, well, okay, goodness.
All right, well...
Okay. I'll head home to my my wifey then.
I'm sure she'll appreciate that. All right, well, be blessed, brother. Thank you for all your work. Keep it up.
Thank you, too. God bless. Bye-bye.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what we've got going on here with the freestyle. I'm hearing there's 3. Someone needs to help me with that. How did we get 3 freestyles? You guys are kind of scaring me here. Is it really 3 freestyles that I owe you guys? Someone break down the numbers for me for that. What we do, everyone. By the way, thank you, Nate, for the super chat. And someone else just gave a super chat. Where'd you go? Hold on. Oh, Douglas Reed, thank you as well. Is it true, Douglas, that snipers have to know the curvature of Earth? I didn't know that. And Radical Love is back again. You guys are killing it. Nate, you got to break me down how many freestyles are and how do we get to be so many? This is going to be quite a challenge here. Okay, so what we do on Street Apologist is we get to 100 viewers. Or 50 in the super chat. Every time we do that, it unlocks a freestyle. So we've got a couple freestyles to unlock, provided by Jonathan Soko, who I did see earlier in the live chat as well. So let me jump on here on the beat, and he's going to explain to me what's going on. So here's. How about the volume right there? How would that be? How would the volume be for the first freestyle, y'all? How would that volume be? Let me know. How would that volume be if I'm right about there? How would that volume be, y'all? Let me know. How would that volume be, y'all? right, well, if we've got all those, we better start the first one right now. Oh, boy. Can I freestyle about flat Earth? This is going to be tricky. 4? How did we get 4? You people... I don't know. We might need to do 3 or something. You guys are... Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Are you sure we had 100 viewers, Nate? I might have to pick some shorter beats. Because you guys are talking about 4. Someone has the name of Flat Earth Shield. All right, well, with that, maybe I should freestyle about people in the live chat. All right, here we go. 3, 2, and 1. Good day, mate. To the Australians, what's up, Nate? He's keeping track in the live chat. Vocab Malone over the boom bap. Beat, I rap, I got a backpack. It's got stacks of facts. The earth, it is not flat. It's not like a pancake or like a hat that's laid after it's set down by a person who was large, like named Marge, and then it gets flattened. Now I'm rapping, check it out now. I will be capping the show off the end. I see my friends, what's up, Radical Love? She's at it again. I don't bend the scriptures to get some other picture of the earth. It's not worth that. The earth is not flat, so listen here. Yes, it's a fear. Make it loud and clear. I don't do this out of fear, but then again, I have a few fears. So open up your ear and I'll tell you. I got to say this. I don't want to compel you to believe a lie, but the earth is fair, so go ahead and try and fly a Concorde, and you will see the truth of the earth. Matter of fact, NASA, listen, they hate it. They think it's got a master named Satan, but we don't really want to debate it because it's a waste of time. This is not a waste of rhyme, but we still got to go online and tell people the truth so they can use their mind, step in the booth. We don't want the youth to become anti-science. Believe in the Bible, yes, that's our primary reliance, but also we can see stuff, we can observe stuff. It's kind of rough to believe that the earth is the wrong shape. Listen, homeboy, it's getting too late. Y'all cats, you come in the chat, you spew and you hate. What's up with all of that? Some of y'all are like way off balance, so let me tell you this. This is your challenge. Listen, you go in the airplane and throttle with Richard. I forgot his last name, but you need to get a properly working model, one that we can all follow. It needs to be able to make predictions. If it can't, then why are you spitting this stuff? And yes, I'm a Christian, but I will not believe this because you say it's written. It's not Rakia. That's not what the word has to mean. Listen, there's other proof, but the fact is, your tooth with your tongue says some stuff that is honestly, kind of dumb. Like, you can't explain light and how it spreads all over the atmosphere, right? You can't really explain day and night and even dates and even time, alright? Matter of fact, you can make very few predictions. They're all wrong. Listen, GPS, homies, we gotta get it together. You'll be in a mess. It's based upon the fact that the earth is round. So flat earthers, shut up, don't make a sound. I'm just kidding, we can have a discussion, but some of y'all get nasty and start cussing. You need to chill, you need to relax. Some of y'all are married to the flat earth like it's a fact, but it is not the flat earth nonsense. It has got to stop. You guys ready for the next one? Let me get a drink of water here. Hold up. By the way, when I'm rapping, I'm just kind of, talking trash a little bit. So I'm kind of just messing around with some of the things I'm saying. It's like a battle rap. But I say it in jest. Partially in jest. All right. Where's the next beat here? Let's see. Oh, it's too loud. Was it too loud? It's hard to get. All right, I'm going to turn down the mic a little bit then. Was it too... You guys got to let me know if it was too loud. All right, where's the next beat here? Let's go with this beat right about here. Let's go with this one? Yeah, I like that one right there. Okay, so okay, let me know about the volume here, guys. What about this? What if I rap right about here? What's the level? Yes, y'all. How is it? How about that level, guys? You gotta let me know. Okay, let me know, because I'm gonna rap right about that level, and I need to know the level, okay? Alright, here we go. This is the second freestyle about the flat earth on this show. Sarfati. Guys, help me come up with things that rhyme with Sarfati. Alright, we'll try. Ready? Ooh, Soko, why'd you do it? So nice, get into it. Yeah, we like it. Freestyle. The B.O. school like Atari. Grab the microphone and spark the party. Shout out to Dr. Sarfati. The dude is kinda ill, he's artsy. Playing the chess, yes. The beat is so fresh, it's hot to death. Most deaf, no doubt, but we talking about the earth as a sphere. There's truth, run the route in a boat, a ship, and you will see. So please don't trip. The fact is, don't be a hater, but everybody knows it if they're a navigator. Not only that, but a surveyor. Listen, they are purveyors of the flat earth. Nope, that's the wrong one. They're not truth. That's the wrong one, son. You know, they know it's a globe. The fact is truth. The beat is so cold. Peep this out now. You ask how old? It's a new theory. It's getting kinda old. What do I mean? I don't mean to be so crude or rude, but thanks YouTube, you did it, dude. It wasn't very prominent until YouTube became kinda dominant. Know what I'm saying? People be playing the button on YouTube and then they have their mind turned to mushing like a muffin, fresh out the oven, hot, no stuffing. Listen, it's like they falling out no bread. Listen, some of y'all kinda acting brain dead. I heard what you said, it ain't believing the Bible. How do I know? Look at the recital. A lot of the top flat earthers deny the Trinity or God and other lies they hold to. So your whole crew is not really biblical, antichrist true. Through and through messing with epistemology. So science is calling me to the pages of the Bible. Flat earth not gonna spark a revival. The gospel's the only thing that does. So listen up, homie, listen up, cuz we rockin' it, having a large party with the man Jonathan Sarfati. Hardly a day goes by when I don't see a video in my eye from the flat earth. Why oh why are you so obsessed? I don't know. I could die without watching another video, but I probably will still watch some flat earth video before I die, unfortunately, and that's too bad. Messed up a couple times, but it's still going pretty good. That was 2. Gotta get in the mood. Here comes the next one, ladies and gentlemen. What beat are we gonna use here? I unmuted it, don't worry. I unmuted it. Okay, let's see here. Alright guys, let me know how it goes, okay? Let's see here. 10 more to go for what? I don't even know what we're talking about at this point now. Okay. Yo. From Arizona, check it out now. I'm Vocab Malone. I spit this poem from my dome. No, the earth is not a metallic dome That's a misuse of the word expanse. So I get on YouTube and rants and rave about the craze, ways the flat earthers like to behave. Some are saved, but a lot are not. The theory is whack, so let's ask Doc. Jonathan Sarfati, he comes, he says, yo, what's up with this sun? Man, the sun is not moving, the earth is moving. That's true from Jerusalem. Jesus saw the kingdom. So you think that's proof? Man, just bring them. The other things that you see, you say, oh look, Daniel has a really tall tree. Well, where's the tree? And where's the mountain? Come on, y'all be making me doubting your ability to do what? Not rap on a beat. Your ability to exegete. So we got to compete with the conspiracy theories, but can you hear me? Listen, I'm rapping again. There's no need to be contrarian for the sake of it. Controversy, you shouldn't even love it. Well, I got a budget, only limited resource, so we got to stay the course. Pass out gospel tracks, not gospel tracks about how the earth is flat, cause that's not the gospel. Listen, some of y'all probably also deny dinosaur fossils and things like the moon landing. I'm scratching my head, I'm not understanding. Listen, man, I don't worship science. The Bible is my main reliance, but compliance with what I see is important if it matches the B-I-B-L-E, and often it does. So listen, what do we love? We got to love T-R-U-T-H. Listen, homies, it's all fake. This stuff is not made by scientists or people who know who Hebrew. They're lying, kids. Some really are professional troll. Here's a fact thing, man, it's old. And listen, I come from my head. The earth is not flat. How do you know? Because of what my man said. If it was, cats would be pushing things off of the edge with their paws. So just pause. Ask yourself, Santa Claus. Now that's a myth, but not the sphere. Listen, we can know by the atmosphere. And who else knows besides me? All the dudes with PhDs and a lot of biblical exegetes and people that are just walking on the street. Listen, it's fun. 3, 2, 1. Yes, y'all, we rockin' with the good doctrine. So keep that flat earth stuff off my blocking. Keep it off the block, son. Okay, it's the last one we got. It's the last one we got, y'all. Last one we got, y'all. Last one we got, y'all. What about that level? I need to know if you guys can hear me. I need to know about the sound level, guys. This is the last one, y'all. Okay. Let's see. Let's try this. Let's finish this. Everybody go to Answers in Genesis. And not only that, the flat earth is a lie. Check out the articles by CMI International. Let's be rational. We gotta look at the facts and be factual. It's habitual to read the Bible and understand when they would use a title in Hebrew like Raki'ah. We got to understand the real meaning, bruh. It doesn't mean metal, so take that away. And listen, what about Joshua's long day? It's simple. With your optical, it's language that is phenomenological. Did I say it right? I don't really know. But it's day and night when he comes back, yo. How could that be possible if the earth is like a pancake? Listen, let me give you a handshake and say, okay, it's time to stop believing the flat earth stuff. It's been receiving too much attention. Did I mention other scriptures that show in an instant he showed them the kingdoms of the earth? So please do not use that temptation verse to try to prove that the earth is flat. The Bible is much more for more than that. It's not to prove the earth's shape. That's kinda whack. Listen, the date is too late, so we got to use our resources for other things or offerings. Listen, homeboys, are you listening? Yes, y'all, now the mic is glistening, it's shimmering. It's not your fault, sir, unless you read an article by Danny Faulkner. It'll teach you the truth. Who else we got when I'm stepping in the booth? Oh yes, now I'm a fire sparker. Make sure you check out Mr. Rob Carter and other people like JP Holding. The mic is ill and now it's glowing. This is a ball, much like the earth. Did you listen to my freestyle verse? You think everyone is in a conspiracy? But listen, homeboy, are you hearing clearly? Conspiracies fall apart much quicker, so stop taking the conspiracy liquor. The elixir is really snake oil. We need to take the flat earth model and boil it up in fire. It's presented by the liar. So listen, homeboy, we will go higher. And when we go in the great rapture, then we will see that the rapture, the earth is not flat, sir. And then we come back and then we establish the kingdom. So in the meantime, just preach the gospel, bro. That'll bring them into the kingdom. I don't know. I started to do 4 freestyles about a flat earth, but it's all good. All right, y'all. Guys, I'm going to be going live by God's grace a couple times this weekend. So right now it's Thursday. And oh look, I just got a okay, good. I'm probably going to talk about the concept of white Jesus again, because I did a talk on it and the video got a lot of response. So I think I want to do a live stream show on what did Jesus look like. I think also I need to cover some other topics. I've got a guest I'm working on getting, my man Kurt Allen. He raps by The Voice, real dope MC. And some other things I'm not remembering right now. But guys, I got to go because I'm actually doing another interview with a friend of mine from Columbus named Chris Featherstone, who's starting up an apologetics show. I don't think it's going to be live. Otherwise, I tell you to go there. But instead, go to Act 17 Apologetics. He's doing a live stream right now. Check out his stuff. And I'll let you know when that other one pops up. But guys, a lot's going on. If you're a Patreon supporter, I'm trying to keep you posted. There's so much happening at once, though. For example, I just got an email message today about another writing opportunity, and so it's probably going to put my own book on hold a little bit more, because I got an opportunity today for a new writing opportunity to contribute to a book. And actually, this is no joke, yesterday I got another one. My point is, 2 different authors contacted me in the past 2 days to have me contribute to 2 different books on 2 different topics, 2 different subjects, and it's pretty amazing stuff. So my book is probably going to be delayed a little bit, because I think it's important to do these, because these are people I respect, and I'm glad to contribute to anything they're doing. So that's happening. I'm going to be going to Atlanta in April. And if you're in Atlanta, please hit me up, because there's a small possibility I could link up with you and we could talk or whatever. I already got a couple people and I've got some stuff I'm doing there. So it's not a guarantee, but try to hit me up and we'll see. Nate, thanks for holding it down. D-New, thanks for holding down all the Patreon folks. You guys are awesome. And everybody else, I got to get out of here, though, and get ready for the next one. Like I said, I'm working on going live. But I've also got a lot of video edited. We're still editing video from the Doctrine for the Blog Conference. Jeff Cran just put up some today. So there's just so much happening. I forget it all half the time when I talk. All I know is God is good. And this has been a dope show. And much love to y'all. Peace out. Toyota!